Hello tribe, and welcome back to another video. You may notice right off the bat that I have a lot less hair than I used to. So I'll pause now for any swearing that needs to occur. I swore a little bit when it was happening, but it's all good. It's a great way to hit the reset button. Today we're going to talk about avoidance, spiritual avoidance, and recently it's been given a new age term, which all the old tenets have been given new age terms, and the new age term for avoidance is spiritual bypassing. And there's two sides of the coin to spiritual bypassing, and there's some nuances to it that sometimes make it hard to identify if we're doing it. And so I think the easier one is when we're kind of leaning away. And, if you guys work with me for any amount of time, you know that we're trained to lean in. And so, but this happens. Can happen a lot when we have a mantra, for example, when we say, if something happens that's shitty and we say, oh, well, everything happens for a reason, rather than actually processing the thing. Everything happens for a reason. We kind of push it aside, right? There's another one that's that I want to remain positive, so I'm going to shift. I'm going to shift away from this negative thing I'm feeling or experiencing because I want to remain positive. And shifting is one of the primary ways that I notice people spiritual bypassing, because shifting is actually something that is effective if something is happening to us, right? But if something is triggered or if something is welling up inside of us, it's no longer happening to us, it's coming out of us, and it needs to be processed. And so shifting away from something that needs to be processed is absolutely avoidance or spiritual bypassing. Another really common one is when something or somebody does something to piss us off or to hurt us, and we rush right to forgive them rather than going through all of the stages, because forgiveness is the very last stage of a process, usually, unless we have become very, very good at forgiveness, which that's hard to do because you need a lot of things to forgive in order to become very, very good at it. But rushing to forgiveness is another one that we can commonly do. And the thing that this version of spiritual bypassing or avoiding all have in common is it's very cerebral, right? I should have a high vibe. I know that everything happens for perfectly and for its own reasons, so I'm just going to chalk it up to that. I know that I should forgive, so that's where I'm going first. But it's this very cerebral thing. And if you remember from your own experiences that in order to heal, we have to feel. In order to get across that river, it is a feeling exercise. And so with this version of avoidance, it's very cerebral. Now, let's look at the other side of the coin, which is the kind of avoidance that keeps us in maybe a hard process. So the ones I just talked about keep us away from processing what's hard. But a lot of times, especially when we're committed to our spiritual path, we find ourselves maybe holding our hand over the fire longer than we need to. And that is another version of avoidance or spiritual bypassing. And a perfect example of this is when we're in a situation where we need to leave because either we're not compatible with it, it's no longer serving us, it's reached the end of its cycle, of its season. It could be a relationship that we need to leave. It could be a job that we need to leave. It could just be a way of relating to life that just needs to go. But what we say to ourselves is, all I need to do is just forgive more. All I need to do is have more love or compassion or acceptance. And I should be able to transform this situation that I'm in, so that it's more agreeable with me or so that it's enjoyable, right? Well, no, because here's the thing is if that was true, you would be compatible with everybody in the world. You wouldn't have to go looking for a mate, for example, that was compatible for you. You could just be compatible with everybody if you were enough loving, enough forgiving, enough accepting. But we have compatibilities. We have things that fit us and we have things that don't. We have our nature, and part of our getting to know ourselves is understanding our nature and understanding what works with us and what doesn't work with us, including people and situations and jobs. And so this version of spiritual bypassing or avoidance is probably the most common among people who are true, what I would call true seekers, people that are truly on a path, because they kind of should on themselves. Like, I should be better somehow. And if I was better, spiritually speaking, then this situation that is so hard would be better too. And nothing could be further from the truth. When we're in a bad situation, yes, we always want to use the mirror principle. Yes, we always want to look within. We always want to start with us. But ultimately, if we identify that there's no more gold in this mine, then we have to leave the mine. And so that's this week's, teaching around spiritual bypassing, also known as the old-fashioned word, which is avoidance. If you guys have any questions, comments, anything like that, please send them because I love them. And until next time, I hope you're all well, and I do look forward to our next video.